Hello again, fellow modelers. Armando here with DLC Model Builders, and I am beginning my next figure build. Continuing with the superhero theme, I have decided to do the 1/6 scale resin kit from Underworld Kits of Batman. Underworld Kits, as told you before, in the Superman build, is an outfit out of the UK. The artist is Mike Baldwin, highly regarded in the figure building community. He sculpts all his own stuff original, and I've gotten a few kits from him, which I have in my stash. Superman was the first I built. I've decided to continue with Batman. I've already washed and applied the adhesion promoter, and I'm letting it dry. As you can see, the quality is excellent. Some flash that I've already been trimming, and I've been sanding on the sides. Let me show you what the completed kit looks like. This gentleman has a page on Facebook as well as an eBay store. The page on Facebook is Underworld Sculpture. Mike Baldwin, and among his many kits, he's moving towards a 1/4 scale figures, which are obviously bigger than the 1/6 scale, and this is his latest creation, a beautiful Wolverine. He's also working on Wonder Woman, and that's his partial sculpture, also 1/4 scale. So he's got some fantastic stuff. Let me show you. This is Superman, which you guys have seen, and that's the brown Wolverine. I've got that one in my stash to do in a future date, not too far in the future. And here is Superman, the one I'm about to build. This guy looks amazing, as you can see. I plan on using the same color scheme he used here. I love what he did with it. Very dynamic pose. Great detail on the sculpt. So that'll be my next build. I don't have a Batman built yet, and although I was thinking of doing another figure build, my son asked me why I hadn't done a Batman yet. He's one of our favorite superheroes, and I thought, you know, he's right. So I think I'll just go ahead and do Batman next. So that's the next one, and I'll keep you guys up to date as I move along on this build. Talk to you later. Back with Batman, and I'm working on the cape. As you can see, it has a very long seam, which is going to be a royal pain to glue and make this appear. Not to mention the instability of it, given the length of the seam itself. So obviously I've drilled holes and placed a pin, just a small piece of a paper clip, and I've already test fitted it, and it adds a lot of stability. I'll go ahead and put it together, show you guys. I'm going to have to compress the damn thing so that it glues to the point where the seam will be diminished, but that's alright. Once I get this thing glued together, I should be able to work on the seam without fear of the thing coming off. I know one thing, this wasn't going to hold together just with glue alone. So as you can see, very stable. Actually holds together rather nicely. Let me flip this over so I can see what I'm showing you guys. Okay. Just holding it with one hand here, and that's how well designed this kit is. It has two notches on the top and bottom, and the pin adds additional alignment in the center, so that's probably the way to go. You have to be really careful when you drill these holes, because the curves of the cape, you can go right through and come out the other side. So I had to gradually deepen the hole until I had enough, and the pin bends into shape because the tunnel on each of the two sides wasn't in the same direction, so the pin is slightly bent. But again, that doesn't matter. What matters is that it's holding it in place. So now I'll take it apart again and go ahead and place the CA glue, and then I'm going to have to hold it in place for several minutes to keep it from falling apart while the glue cures. Let's see here. Yep, that's the way to do it. The kit is good quality, but I wonder why the cape was designed that way. There's a couple of kits out there that have the same problem. The Superman kit from Polar Lights was also designed with a long seam down the center, and it makes that so much harder to assemble the cape and make the seam disappear. It's a lot of hard work. I rather like the way Superman was designed. It was just a single piece, and it was just painting it and sanding it and getting it pretty. But that's all right. We'll make it work somehow. Anyway, that's the seam. Okay, talk to you later. Okay, back with the Batman. I've glued the cape, the two halves together with the pin as I showed you in the previous segment, and I've been doing some sanding of the plastic, and I've gotten it a lot smoother. I'm sanding in the direction of the curves to try and preserve the sculpt and the shape of it, and it's looking real good right now. Still got a little bit of evening out to do, and then I'm going to apply the putty and continue with the sanding. This kit, I was looking at it, and really the only real seam to work on is this, because the arms and the legs, the seams that they have all hide in the detail of the kit. So actually, if I can get this thing to look good, I might be ready to put it together and start painting. So I'm pleased so far. This is nice and solid. The pinning really worked. Now it's just a question of getting this thing to disappear. So I'll be working on that, and I'll show you what I come up with later. Talk to you later. Okay, some more work on the cape. As you can see, been sanding the seam. It feels pretty smooth. It's not perfect yet. There's still some residual that is visible when you look up close. So it'll probably require more puttying and more sanding, but it's looking good right now. I've gotten as far as this here, as you can see. So onward and upward. The inside has been puttied also, and continue work on it. Show you soon. All right, so I've got some more seam work done in here. I'll show you here. This is the external part of the cape, nice and smooth. Everything feels very smooth. Edges are smooth, and on the inside, same deal. I don't feel any step off anywhere. I'm sure there will be some. I'm trying to polish everything so it's nice and smooth. Feels pretty smooth right now. I'm going to go ahead and apply the primer, and hopefully it'll look pretty good. I'll show you guys after I put it on. Okay, I've primered it. This is the first coat. This is the outside of the cape, and as you can see, I've got a pretty good result. The seam runs along here, and you can hardly see it. For the most part, it's invisible. Maybe a little bit right there. I'll obviously retouch it. This isn't the only application I'm gonna give. I'll probably hit it with some 600 grit next. On the inside, I had a lot more squirting from the can. These cans sometimes do that. It kind of pisses me off. It'll require some sanding after it dries. Again, I'll use 600 grit. The seam is more visible on the inside. It's harder to get sanding done along the edges on the inside. You can see it there, but that's all right. I'll work on it some more tomorrow. Do some more sanding, maybe a little bit more puttying. For now, I'll just let it dry and cure overnight. But I'm very happy with the initial results. I was worried about that seam, that it might be a lot more difficult to knock out than it was. The key was pinning it with that single pin like I showed you guys. That makes this thing really rigid and very strong. So now I could go ahead and just sand away and not fear that the thing would come off. If I hadn't had a pin in there, this thing wouldn't have held, because only CA glue would have been holding it. So that's the key with this kit. Alright, talk to you guys later. Back with another update on Batman. Working on seams. I've gone ahead and glued the head to the cape, as you can see. There is a seam back here. I was wrong. There is another seam to work on. The seam that goes around the head. Kind of a tough one, trying to blend it in so I don't obliterate the ears here. But make it look natural and continuous. The cape looks great. I was able to get rid of the seam on it pretty much completely. I've sanded it several times and gone down to 1500 grit, so it's nice and smooth. And that's what I'm working on. I've resanded and reprimered the extremities, the legs and the arms, as well as the trunk. And they're over on the other bench drying right now, so you can see right over there. After I get this toned down, I'm going to go ahead and reprimer and see what we're dealing with. I had to sand the head for some of the contact flash from the mold. That's gone now, so I expect that after reprimering it's all going to look smooth, and we'll see. I'm already thinking about what my color tones are going to be when I mix them up. I'll discuss that some more when I get to that point. I took a different tactic with this guy rather than Superman. I glued the head on first for a couple of reasons. Even though it'll probably make it a bit more difficult to paint the face, but there isn't much of a face to paint anyway, so I'll do it like I did with Flash. But since the cape and the hood, the head cover are supposed to be a continuous structure, the only way I was going to get a good fit was to fit this head on here, and I did, with a lot of filing, get it down to the point where the seam was small enough in the back anyway. And I figured I'll go ahead and get this seam taken care of, and then I'll reprimer, and that way I'll have the whole continuous thing all set up, so then all I have to do is mount the rest of the figure. So just a slightly different tack in my strategy on how to put this guy together. But come back with another update soon. Talk to you later. Thought I'd show you some shots of progress on the seam. It is there's still some work to be done, but this gives you an idea of how this this process goes. See, I'm sanding in this direction so I don't dig in and create too much of a crease. There's always going to be some kind of a crease back there because the head obviously is bigger back here and it'll fold it, and if you're wearing a cape with a hood and everything is continuous, you're going to get a crease back there, so that looks natural. But I don't want to sand in this direction because then I'll attenuate the muscle detail and create a trench that won't look natural. So I'm sanding in this direction. See, I have some work to do there still. I might re-putty there and sand some more, but obviously with great care to try and not sand away the ear detail. And working over here, still haven't gotten to this part very much. You can see this, there's still a lot of putty there, but this gives you an idea of what it begins to look like as I fill it in with putty and I sand it. It's just a process, but I've come to believe that there's really no seam that you can't knock down if you give it enough work. Some are more difficult than others, but they all can be made to disappear if you're meticulous enough and patient. Above all, you have to be patient. So, okay, I'll come back and show you when I'm a little further along. Talk to you soon. Back, and here's after I've completed most of my sanding. Get up close here so you guys can see. Not focusing. There we go. As you can see, there's good continuity of the surfaces. Still a little bit of a rough patch in a couple of areas. Let's see if I can do that right now while I can see it. I don't want to go too aggressively on the area of the indentation there, because like I said, I'll create a trench and then that'll ruin it. Okay, so you can see it's all continuous now for the most part. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spray my primer, and that'll show any defects that I need to work on. But first I'm gonna sand it down with some 600 to smooth it out a little bit more, finer grit. Get it more, give it more of a smoother finish, so it all blends together nicer. I really thought that I would not be able to get this thing to blend as well as it looks right now. There's still some areas that are not perfect. Here in this area where the right sternocleidomastoid muscle inserts behind the ear, there's a small indentation there that doesn't look quite right to me. So I'm trying to get it flush with the putty so it looks natural. There's still a few grains there, but almost got it. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray the primer, and then I'll come back and show you guys before I do any sanding of the primer, so you get an idea of what I see when I take that next step. Okay? Alright, be back in a flash.